Struggling to rest a bed. So, yesterday, I'm in black, sorry, I don't mean to hide. I said something to somebody that I regret. Don't say something to somebody that you may regret or hurt you in the long run. I'm starting to realize you say things, don't say it. I don't know what we were talking about.
You know that apps and websites are collecting your data. You know that some devices are always listening to you. That GPS. So I just finished the final episode of the series, and I'm like, any of you fellas got something to drink? Yeah, I'm gonna need a drink after this because I was not expecting this ending. There is a lot to unpack here, like who this woman was watching over Sabrina's death, where Sabrina actually is, and Nick too, and about a half dozen hints at what we can expect for a season 5. Yes, the show has been canceled on Netflix, but there are clues that it may be coming back. So make sure to like and subscribe because hell is waiting. The final episode is called At the Mountains of Madness, which is both the place Sabrina and Faustus work on extracting the void, as well as the name of a famous H.P. Lovecraft novella. Guillermo del Toro has tried to adapt it into a movie for decades, but that's besides the point. Lovecraft is a huge influence on this season, as the main horrors which plague Sabrina and Greendale are the Eldritch Terrors, whom were heavily inspired by Lovecraft's stories. In chapter 29, Agatha even refers to Faustus Blackwood as being Reverend Lovecraft as he starts his new church, the Pilgrims of the Night. We would love it if you came to visit us soon. Oh, thank you. Part 3 saw Blackwood pledging to be the Eldritch Terror's servant, and here we are picking up right where we left off. Mary Wardwell has taken on a new role leading the Pilgrims of the Night after the absence of Reverend Lovecraft, who she says is currently on a holy mission. She has his book of writings, which are called the Eldritch Gospels. We see him writing these all the way back in chapter 29. The attention to detail here is also great, as the church has grown considerably since Wardwell was first introduced to it 8 episodes ago. The interesting thing here is Wardwell is reciting events Faustus Blackwood wrote down 2 days before Halloween, and 50 minutes later, near the end of the episode, she says this: Ad Oriam Faustus Gloriam, which translates from Latin to happy to die for glory. This seems to suggest 2 things. 1, that Faustus is dead, but we'll get to what happens to him later, and 2, that the events depicted in the final episode were written by Blackwood himself, so keep that in mind. Nick ends up giving Sabrina a memento of his love, 2 lockets each containing a photo of themselves. Not only is this a symbol of his love to her, but it also plays an important plot point later on in the episode, and as they passionately kiss in Sabrina's room, Nick is cock-blocked by Sabrina Morningstar, who has returned from the alternate cosmos to warn them that the final Eldritch Terror, the Void, is on its way. It won't stop until everything's destroyed. The Eldritch Terrors have been the main focus of this season, and there are 8 of them. The darkness, the uninvited, the weird, the perverse, the cosmic, the returned, the endless, and the void. By the final episode, Sabrina and the gang have pretty much either contained or stopped all of these terrors, except for the most menacing of all, the void, which seeks to destroy all worlds, including heaven, hell, and mortal. Meanwhile, Faustus, who was beheaded and forced to look at his own rotting body in the dungeon of the Academy, senses that it's time. You may be wondering how he's not dead. That's because in part 3, he was given the Mark of Cain, which granted him immortality. That's also why Prudence, knowing this, ends up cutting his body and spreading the parts around the globe. So this leaves plenty of opportunity for search out for his parts and bring him back together again. Now, this finale does this a lot, purposely leaving out a lot of story threads in case the show were to be picked up for another season on another platform, and I'll try to point these out as I go along. You'll notice Faustus calls upon his body to come toward him, and some of you may be like, why didn't he do this earlier? That's because he was waiting for this specific moment, when the void would be on its way. There's no one that knows more about the void than him, so this was all part of his plan. Sabrina needs help trying to destroy the void, and guess who magically shows up? Leaving to your friend? Yes, Trinket Man. I'm not Trinket Man. This was one of the aspects of the show which I didn't particularly like. This guy seems to show up anytime one of the characters has a problem with an object that will save everything. Kind of like in chapter 32, where he gives Ambrose the Stone of Omphalos, which allows him to save Greendale from Emperor Blackwood. This time he has something even more powerful, Pandora's Box. In Greek mythology, Pandora's Box was a jar opened by the first human woman, Pandora, and when she opened it, things didn't turn out well. It contained sicknesses, death, and many other evils that would be unleashed upon the world. So Sabrina is going to use this in the hopes of trapping the void within. The only problem is she has to be inside the void to do it, meaning she won't make it back out. She knows her future is death, hence why she writes a goodbye note to her family. But what Sabrina doesn't foresee is that while she's opening the box and putting it into the void, her family is performing a spell that will bring her back. The only problem is they don't have her body, so they use Sabrina Morningstar's, who died from crashing through the mirror, and put Sabrina Spellman's soul into it. So basically we have half-mortal, half-witch Sabrina Spellman's soul put into the body of Sabrina Morningstar, the Queen of Hell. Of course this pisses off Lucifer, who learns from Lilith that his daughter has died and her body is being desecrated by Sabrina Spellman's soul. Lilith will tell Lucifer where Sabrina's location is if he promises to give her her powers back. Remember back in chapter 33 that Lucifer stripped Lilith of all her powers after she refused to tell him where their son Adam was. And you don't want to know where he went. He is dead! Caliban and Beelzebub head into the mines to gather an army taking control of Harvey's dad and the miners. Their attack on the Spellmans don't go over as planned as Sabrina starts sucking in her attackers faster than my Dyson I got for Christmas. This freaks Lucifer and he pieces out, telling Lilith that Sabrina has godlike powers, something even he can't compete against. But Lilith wants Lucifer to make good on her deal. She told him where Sabrina was and she wants her powers back, and when he declines, she stabs him in the back with the one thing that can kill him, the Spear of Longinus, whatever. It's the spear that pierced the side of Jesus as he hung on the cross. Believe it or not, this spear was teased as Lucifer's downfall way back in part 2. Well planned, but fruitless. Only the Spear of Longinus could kill me. Lilith then proceeds to drink Lucifer's celestial blood to regain her powers, and I would assume this also makes her Queen of Hell. She banishes Lucifer to wander the mortal realm without his powers, just like he did to her, and this is yet another example of a story thread that just kind of ends. If there's a season 5, expect Lucifer to make a return and want revenge on.
Did you know that you can get life insurance in 60 seconds right from your phone? Download the Goose app today and get up to $50,000 in coverage for as low as $5 a month. No agents, no medical, and Goose guarantees acceptance.
Sign up now and get an instant $10 credit. Scans show that Sabrina's body is completely empty. When her soul was brought into its new body, part of the void latched onto it, hence why random people and objects disappear around her. Sabrina sees no choice but to cast herself out to the mountains of madness so that she can no longer hurt anyone else. Meanwhile, the others concoct a plan to save Sabrina and end the void for good. But part of this plan involves retrieving Pandora's box, and they have no idea where it is. This is where Nick's locket comes into play. Because the two lockets are bound together, he can find out where her body is, snatch the box, and return home. And Nick can go into the emptiness of space
face and live because he was forged in the fires of hell. But he has to use an eldritch tentacle thing in order for him to breathe. At the Mountains of Madness, Sabrina is visited by Blackwood, who claims he can teach her how to control the void and perhaps one day even get rid of it. And Sabrina here doesn't really have a choice. After all, there's no one who knows more about the void and the eldritch terrors than Faustus Blackwood. 2 weeks later, and Ambrose, Prudence, Roz, and Agatha track down Sabrina using her familiar Salem. Sabrina herself looks completely drained of power, having to hold back the void. Ambrose accuses Faustus of trying to unite the rest of the void with the peace in Sabrina so he can wield the power all for himself. They ask for a trade, all the eldritch terrors and Pandora's box, in exchange for Sabrina. This would be way more powerful for Faustus.
I settled for Sabrina's paltry piece of the void, but it is almost in its entirety here.
Faustus agrees, but it's all a trap. The box is a fake rigged with gunpowder, blinding him in the process. The next step is where things get complicated. By cutting Sabrina on this altar and allowing her void-infused blood to drain around it, they can open a containment field for a brief moment of time. Nick, Ambrose, and Harvey take the eldritch terrors through the field to leave them there, while simultaneously searching for their family members who disappeared. Hilda and Zelda also lock eyes with a mysterious visitor. You might remember her as the Dread Banshee from Season 3, and she foreshadows a member of the Spellman's death.
It's a moment, Sabrina. I'm sorry, but a member of the Spellman family is going to die soon.
Nick and the gang successfully save everyone from the void, and I'm like, I hope those pancakes made it out too, and it's safely sealed away within Pandora's box. But Sabrina doesn't make it. We see her blood has turned from white to red, and Wardwell's voiceover transitions us to the funeral of both Sabrinas. Zelda struggles with why their goddess Hecate didn't help Sabrina. Maybe that's because Sabrina isn't dead. And even if she is, there's always been ways to bring back someone from it, like the Cane Pit or another thread left open, Baron Samedi. In part 4, we learn that Mambo Marie was in fact the head of the Loa spirits of Baron Samedi, who gives Zelda an object she can use to summon him in case she ever needs something. Who better to raise someone from the dead than the spirit who helps carry those to the underworld? But what we're really wanting to know is what happened to Sabrina. We see her in the same void-like room, but this time it has some more cheerful and colorful paintings. The writing even says, "The sweet hereafter." And what about the void? Isn't it trapped in Pandora's box? So this can't be the void, right? It also can't be heaven or hell, or else she'd just show up there. The paintings give us a little hint. I take these to mean the left being hell, the middle the apple tree from the Garden of Eden, the mortal world, and the right being heaven. She is somehow in between these three places. This is different than the void, which had pictures of M.C. Escher paintings alluding to how there was no escape. Things just keep repeating over and over in a vast nothingness. So we can assume this isn't the void, nor a place we've seen in the Sabrina universe before. Then there's the introduction of Nick, who alludes that he killed himself to be with her, which is a bit problematic since it romanticizes suicide. How did he get here? Wouldn't he be sent to hell? How did he know where she was? That's the problem with this ending. It's so open-ended and doesn't give us closure on almost any of the characters. The emotion falls flat because of it. Thematically, the ending falls in line with how Sabrina's character arc is set up. At the beginning of Part 4, Sabrina finds herself alone.
Everyone's moved on without me.
No one loves you. No one could love you.
I still feel alone.
She even tells Lucas how she doesn't know where she fits in the universe.
I've just been having this free-floating anxiety. Like, I don't know who I really am anymore.
And that's where we leave her at the end, alone and unsure of where she is. The addition of Nick felt forced and tacked on. I felt like there was more story to be told. In Chapter 31, Sabrina says,
I need to figure out who I am. On my own.
But I didn't get the feeling that she did that. Her character arc, to me, was left unfulfilled. And I think part of the problem here is that the writers don't exactly know where the series is going and had, out of necessity, to leave it as wide open as possible in case it gets renewed. In a July 2020 tweet from executive producer Roberto Aguirre Sacasa, he said Part 5 would take place via comic and would be entitled Witch War and include the witches of Riverdale. But in a more recent Instagram post on December 31st, 2020, he used the words, quote, "the last for now" episode, hinting that something is in the works. For months, it's been hinted that the series will be picked up on HBO Max, which owns the rights to the Sabrina property under Warner Brothers. And if you click on the distributors section of IMDb, guess who is listed as one of the distributors? HBO Max. I really hope this show comes back. It's been a fantastic ride, and I think these characters deserve a better ending than what we got. But that's just my opinion. what do you think of Sabrina's maybe final last season? I want to hear your comments and theories below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and check out my Chilling Adventures of Sabrina playlist below. For more bad takes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BigStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.
I found a game for buddies. You basically control the ball with telekinesis, or your finger, whatever you can. Try not to fall. Looks like a ghost town down there. Nothing to do there alone. Jump. Wow, Sparks. Jump again. It's funnier than a roller coaster. Back and forth. Back and forth. And fly.
Right now, I'm going to withdraw $18,500 from my online bank account to my...
Am I a grown man talking about a show about fairies?
You're goddamn right.
Netflix's Fate the Winx Saga is a live-action adaptation of the 2004 Nickelodeon show Winx Club and its 2016 successor, World of Winx. But, you know, Netflix has to go all CW on us and has turned this 17-year-old kids show into a brooding fantasy teen drama. Think of it like taking the Care Bears and turning them into horny, emotional teens. In this video, we'll be uncovering some of the show's biggest secrets and what it could mean for Season 2. So sprout some fiery fairy wings and make sure to like and subscribe because here we go. Welcome to Alphea. No, not you, Alf. An elite boarding school for fairies and combat soldiers known as specialists. It's located in Solaria, one of Otherworld's 7 realms, which is under the control of Queen Luna. We'll get to that piece of work in a bit. Meet Bloom, the show's protagonist. You might remember the actress Abigail Cowan here as one of the weird sisters, Dorcas, from Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Bloom isn't like the other kids, being the only student from Earth, which they call the First World. Her journey this season sees her struggling to harness her powers while uncovering her secret past. In episode 1, Bloom finds out that she's a changeling, that she was switched at birth and doesn't know who her real parents are. This is where we find her at the beginning of the final episode. Her search for answers has led her to Rosalind, one of the most powerful fairies ever who was imprisoned in Headmistress Dowling's Undercroft. And in her quest for answers, Bloom decides to let her free. And that's because Dowling and the other staff haven't been telling the truth about Bloom's past. They lie about her real parents and hide her from the atrocity that occurred at Aster Dell. Aster Dell was a village under siege by the Burned Ones, fire creatures which seek to destroy the fairies. We'll get to them and their connection to Bloom in a bit. Rosalind told the others that the town had been evacuated, but that was a lie. They ended up being complicit in a massacre which killed all the Burned Ones and many innocent lives. When the other teachers found about this, they imprisoned Rosalind. As Bloom learns, this story may not be true. She learns from Rosalind that the town was inhabited by blood witches.
They were humans who drew on sacrifice and death. Blood witches.
These blood witches kidnapped Bloom as a baby from her real fairy parents, likely to be given to the Burned Ones. The Burned Ones want Bloom because she possesses an ancient primal power known as the Dragon Flame. If they can kill her before she's grown up and learns to harness this power, it would eliminate their biggest threat. This is why Rosalind put Bloom on Earth to be raised by Earth parents. It was the safest place for her to be. Now you might be asking yourself, if Bloom was switched at birth, where did that other baby go, that human baby? Well, we're not 100% sure, but we do know that that human child had a heart defect and wasn't expected to live long. It probably didn't make it. So when Rosalind did the switch, it was a win-win.
Had a heart defect in the womb, but a day after I was born, it was gone.
For Rosalind, she was killing 2 birds with 1 stone, eliminating a bunch of Burned Ones and blood witches in one go. But what we don't know is if she's telling the truth, and I think there's more to this Aster Dell story and what it means for Bloom's past to be discovered in Season 2. So Bloom ends up freeing Rosalind in exchange for knowledge on where she came from. But Rosalind says she can't use her magic until she's recharged at the Stone Circle. The Stone Circle is a conduit to all the magical energy which flows throughout the realm. Here, your powers can be heightened, which which is why many of the students' lessons are conducted here. When Rosalind recharges, however, she ends up sucking up so much power that the magical barrier protecting Althea from the burned ones shuts off, as well as all the magic-powered lights which illuminate its halls. This is all part of Rosalind's plan. She wants the burned ones to attack Althea in an attempt to test Bloom to use her powers and show her true nature, that she is a descendant of the Dragonflame. That's why when Bloom gets a text saying the school is under attack, that Rosalind doesn't come with her. Bloom needs to do this by herself to prove that she is the chosen one. These revelations also mean that Bloom's fairy parents may still be alive. I don't think we've seen them in the show yet, but I imagine much of season 2 will be her searching for them and learning how she was kidnapped by the Blood Witches. After all, Rosalind did promise when all this is over, she'll help her find her birth parents.
And when this is over, you'll find your birth parents together.
Meanwhile, Althea's resident bad boy, Ribbon, finds Dane healing his girlfriend, Beatrix, after she was thrown into Dowling's Undercroft spell trap. Ironic, since she was the one to push Callum into it earlier on in the season. Beatrix has filled the role of villain for much of the season, doing everything she can to uncover Dowling's secrets. In her mind, however, she thinks she's doing good. She believes Dowling has wrongfully imprisoned Rosalind, that Dowling and the other teachers are the evil ones, and that Dowling is responsible for her adoptive father having to live in hiding for 16 years. One of the big reveals at the end of the season is that Beatrix's father is Andreas of Heraclius, a legendary specialist who we thought was killed by Silva. During the events of Astrodel, Andreas and Silva fought after Silva found out Rosalind was going to destroy the town and knowing it would kill innocents. Andreas, however, was following orders.
Andreas, you have a choice. Your orders or your morals.
This was one of the most painful things Silva had to do. Kill his best friend in order to stop hundreds from dying. This is why he pays so much attention to Sky, Andreas' son, becoming a father-like figure to him. And Silva ends up telling Sky the truth, that he was the one to kill his father. But as we learn at the end, Andreas is still alive. Beatrix was raised by him, however, he's not her real father.
Technically, he's not my dad, but he'll know what to do.
This revelation is so emotional for Sky that he spends the entire night and into the morning contemplating things in the front lawn of Althea. How is Andreas going to justify being away from his son and raising another child? Andreas probably had no choice for fear of being discovered, hence why he had to have his adoptive daughter do all the dirty work. In our side story, Sam and Earthberry was viciously attacked by a burned one. If you're cut by a burned one, it unleashes a lethal toxin which can't be stopped unless the burned one which caused it is killed. Sam and Musa, the Mind Fairy, developed a relationship over the season, and because she's an empath, can take away some of his pain. This is hard for her because the last time she did it was with her dying mother, and taking away Sam's pain will dig up the emotions she felt about her mother's death. Emotions she said she never wants to feel again, but she mans up and does it, buying Sam enough time until the burned one that attacked him is killed. Of all the powers this season, Musa's was the one I felt has the most potential to grow in season 2. We haven't seen the extent of what she can do, and I bet there's a lot more powers that she can unlock, like reading minds, not just feelings, mind control, manipulating thoughts. I'm excited to see what the writers will come up with. As the teachers and students await the burned one's attack, they are surprised when their attackers change course.
They're all moving together like they're following something.
That's because they're after Bloom. She leads them outside, where we get to finally see the true extent of her ancient magic, the magic of the Dragonflame. She sprouts flame wings, wings being something fairies haven't had in centuries.
Well, we had wings in the past. As we've evolved, transformation magic has been lost.
And she makes quick work of the burned ones, destroying their cinders, the magical core which powers them.
Inside each burned one is a magical core called a cinder. And with time and finesse, you can use your magic to destroy it.
But look at the bodies left over from the burned ones. They're human, dressed in medieval chain-linked armor. As Rosalind tells Dowling, the burned ones were once humans from an ancient war 1,000 years ago. It was an ancient magic that created them. This magic is called the Dragonflame, and it burns inside Bloom. This is why the burned ones are attracted to her, and likely explains why Bloom always hears whispers every time she's around a burned one. Rosalind tells Dowling that a war is coming, and that Bloom's powers will be needed. Only through Rosalind's teaching can Bloom fully unlock and harness that power. But in order to teach Bloom, Rosalind must get rid of Dowling and become the new head mistress, killing Dowling and collaborating with Queen Luna to get the job. Queen Luna, we learned, was involved in the cover-up of Aster Dell and had a major dislike for Dowling, so she approved Rosalind becoming the new headmistress. Bloom goes back home and knows she has to tell her parents the truth. She knows how lies and what withholding information can lead to, so she thinks it's best she tells her parents who she really is. And they seem pretty accepting, but it's not until the girls arrive back at school that they find there's been a few changes.
Welcome back, ladies. There have been a few changes.
And this shot of Andreas, Rosalind, and Queen Luna really sets up what the major conflicts will be for next season. First, we have the introduction of Andreas and what that means for both Sky, Silva, and Beatrix. Sky will likely want to reconnect with his father, and who knows what that means for this new pseudo-sister, Beatrix. Silva and Andreas will have bad blood, which will likely turn violent, and then there's Queen Luna. I don't think she'll be staying at Althea, but will return here and there when needed. But the fact the Queen of Celeria is backing this new headmistress probably means that Rosalind will lean into the Queen's preferred method of education, tough love. As Stella says of her mother's teachings,
Project strength and power. Never show weakness. When positive emotions didn't work, she went right to the negative. Hard.
Then there's Rosalind, who will likely be teaming up with Bloom to harness her powers. I wouldn't be surprised if Rosalind wants those powers for herself, and if there's a way that can be achieved. Rosalind, more than any other fairy, knows about ancient magics. She was the one to discover that fairies can combine their powers together to create stronger magics. Her desire to help Bloom find her real parents is likely a facade in order for something more sinister. Rosalind definitely has something up her sleeve, and it probably spells bad news for Bloom. What I'm really excited for is how Dowling said fairies may be able to harness multiple elements.
Further down the line, you may learn to connect with other elements, but your first year is all about the element you were born with.
Imagine Bloom being able to channel fire, air, mind, earth, and others all at once. If there's a dragon flame, does that mean there are other ancient magics for the other elements that fairies can harness? And with a war on the horizon, Rosalind says the burned ones are nothing compared to what's coming. Bloom
Disappeared. Demons. Elves and witches. Hiding in plain sight.
Professor Experiment.
Breaks the rules. Pays the price. Is this what you really want to walk against us? Yes.
Sue is a social platform that puts the content creators first. Everyone is a content creator. Advertisers pay social media giants to advertise on your content. The social giants then keep all of that money for themselves. You, the creator, never see a dime. The awards you earn from ad revenue and affiliate commissions will be added to your Sue account every day. Sue provides you a 50% award rate from the ad revenue generated from your content. The social giants share nothing. We believe creators should be rewarded for their work.
Danny Griffin felt disappointed with the series the moment he stepped on set. Why did Abigail Cohen almost reject her role twice? And which cast member was doing exams on set? Prepare to find out all the behind-the-scenes secrets of the saga you had no idea about, and more season 2 predictions. Everything you see is fake. The disappointment.
Did you know that Abigail Cowan was in Stranger Things? Which actors from the Winx saga were friends before they were cast in the show? And are there any romances on set of the new fantasy series? Hi, I'm Janet. Let's find this all out. Abigail Cowan as Bloom. The actress who plays the American Fire Fairy is 22 in real life, and she is no stranger to magical boarding schools. Abigail starred in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina as Dorcas. In an interview with MTV News, she explained why she loves such mystical projects. You're allowed to really use your imagination, she said, and that's really fun for me, because I definitely have a huge imagination. Cowan can also be spotted in a couple episodes of the second season of Stranger Things. She played one of the girls who we see swooning over Billy when he arrives for his first day at Hawkins High School. Abigail grew up in Florida and studied PR at
the local university before moving to LA to pursue a career in acting. Apart from acting, Cowan also models and recently appeared in Glamour UK. Abigail also sings and plays the guitar, but surprisingly, her favorite hobby is running. The actress shared that it helps her relax her mind and keep her physically fit. Running is my escape from reality, she revealed. It is the only time my mind really feels quiet and at ease, especially in such a loud, very stimulating world. Abigail is quite secretive about her love life and has yet to reveal if she is or has been in a relationship. The fans of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina tried to ship her and co-stars Ross Lynch and Gavin Leatherwood, but these rumors quickly died down. However, Cowan might be dating someone who is not a public person. She regularly posts on Instagram, and her followers have spotted a mystery man in several of her photos and videos. Hannah Vanderwest Hewson as Stella. She began acting as a child and appeared in the Frankenstein miniseries and several episodes of the British children's show, The Fugitives. Hannah then stepped away from the spotlight for a while, and the next time she appeared on the screen was in 2020. Apart from Fate, the Winx Saga, she appeared in an episode of the British series Grantchester, a thriller film, The Bay of Silence, and in 2 other movies, which are now in post-production. Also, 2 years ago, she appeared on the London stage in a play called An Enemy of the People. The 25-year-old actress prefers to stay low-key, and although she is very active on Instagram, she rarely posts captions that give any details of her life. Born and raised in the UK, Hannah definitely loves traveling and has been to a lot of different places, including France, Italy, Canada, and the Netherlands. Apparently, Hannah is single, but she has a lot of friends. She shares her London flat with her childhood bestie, Flossie Skelton, and seems to be totally satisfied with her life right now. Precious Mustafa as Aisha, the tenacious water fairy, is portrayed by a 23-year-old British-Nigerian actress. Precious began her career on the stage, participating in a Royal Shakespeare Company workshop. She first appeared on
Dishwashers use less than 15 liters of water per cycle, while a running sink uses that every 2 minutes. Cascade.
Oh, I'm bored. Sleep.
TV only 2 years ago in an episode of the series Endeavor. Eagle-eyed fans might also recognize her from episode 1 of the Netflix series The Stranger. And this year, she is to appear in a recurring role in the British detective comedy Code 404. Precious feels at ease every time she gets in front of the camera, and it shows. Although we don't know anything about this young actress's love life, one thing is for sure: she has a great relationship with her co-stars, especially with Hannah Vanderwest Hewson. Last August, she posted several pictures of their travels, including the most radiant beings I am lucky to know. Elliot Salt as Tara. Surprisingly, Tara is actually the eldest of the fairies. Actress who portrays her is 27 years old, and she is one of the most experienced on the set of Fate. Elliot has appeared in a number of British and Irish TV shows. In 2019, Salt picked up a recurring role in the British series Game Face, and the next year, she popped up alongside David Schwimmer in the comedy Intelligence. But her most prominent role before The Winx Saga was in the smash hit Normal People, where she played Marianne's college friend, Joanna. Elliot Salt was born in Manchester, but lives in London with her girlfriend, whose name she prefers not to disclose. Alicia Applebaum as Musa. Fate marks Alicia's biggest role to date, as before this show, she had only several small gigs. Like many of her co-stars, Applebaum is British. The 25-year-old Alicia is not only an actress, she is also a poet, and you can find one of her poems on her Instagram account. There are also pictures of her travels and enjoying time with her friends on there. By the way, in a recent interview, Alicia revealed that she and Danny Griffin actually met before being cast for the show because they have mutual friends. She also shared that all of the actors bonded a lot during filming. We all had each other to lean on throughout the process, and filming was like a big hug for all of us. But Alicia especially praised Abigail Cowan, who already knew what it was like to work with Netflix, so she helped her fellow fairies a lot. The actress doesn't comment on her personal life, so we might assume that she is totally focused on her career at the moment. Jacob Dudman as Sam, Tara's brother, and Musa strike up a romance over the course of the series. In real life, Alicia Applebaum has nothing but kind words for the actor. Jacob is an easy and great person with whom to work, she shared, so it made all of those scenes so much more comfortable and easy to do. Dudman is 23 years old, and
And today,